All right, we are back live. What's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. First, before we get started, just want to shout out to everyone that was here last night on the for the Ryan Garcia Javier Fortuna fight. Shout out to everyone that was here. Did live commentary last night. It was a pretty decent crowd, pretty low, but I don't think it was a big fight. You know, it was pretty much another decent fight for Ryan Garcia. And some people showed up last night and we had a good time anyway, just talking boxing. The undercard was kind of boring. I think the Jimenez fight was a good fight. That was probably the best fight on the card, at least of the main card. But outside of that, the card was pretty draggy. We didn't get any stoppages or anything like that. We got a bunch of decision fights, and it is what it is. All right, but Ryan Garcia stop Javier Fortuna in the 6th round. And, all over social media, you know, everyone is talking about Ryan Garcia versus Tank and just about the 135 division in general. And it's been pretty much the same, even though we did get some good fights. We did get a few top tier fights. I want to say the majority of the top tier fights that we got at 135 involved the 4 major titles. Ever since Loma fought maybe Luke Campbell, or maybe when Loma fought Teofimo Lopez, the belt's kind of been passed around, you know, and I want to say everyone outside of that line of fighters that fought for those titles. You got Loma, Tio, you have Cambosos, and then you got Devin Haney. Outside of that order, everybody's been kind of just fighting whoever they want. Ryan Garcia, he stepped up, fought Luke, good win, but took a break from boxing for the rest of the year. You got Tank, who's been active, but he's doing his pay-per-view thing on a PBC. He's not really mixing it up with any of the top elite fighters in the division. So with all that being said, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions still, you know. What's up, everyone that's joining the chat? Brandon, I see you. What's up with you? Aaron, what's good? What's up, B-Dub? All right. Shout out to everyone that's joining us. I just jumped on. I meant to do this video earlier this morning. I wanted to jump on live earlier, but I was kind of tired from last night, and I used most of the day to relax. But I wanted to speak a little bit more on 135 because we did get some interviews from Ryan. We know Ryan has called out Tank Davis, but in a post-fight interview, Ryan even said that he's interested in fighting Teofimo Lopez if he doesn't get Tank and if he stays at 140. All right. What's up, Clarence? What's up, Soccer Training Club? So, yeah, he's interested. So we're going to talk about Tank. We're going to talk about Teofimo Lopez. We're going to talk about 135, and we're going to talk about 140. All right. We have to, because I think what we're seeing here in this division, it's really unpredictable with these guys, because you got a lot of fighters. You got fighters that are accomplished. Like Devin Haney is officially, he's officially the top dog at 135. Now, if you want to talk about star power, you got Tank. I think it's no denying that Tank is star. He's pulling the numbers. He's doing the pay-per-views. He's selling out arenas, whatever, right? Then you have the old dog Lomachenko that you just can't leave out. I mean, he's definitely by far the most accomplished fighter in the division, right? So you have you don't really, the 3 of those guys, just those 3 alone, never fought each other. Tank never fought Loma. And Haney hasn't fought Loma yet. And most likely, if Haney is going to go in a rematch with Cambosos, which holds up things even further, because no one's asking for that fight, but they agreed on a rematch happening if Cambosos was to lose the fight. It was like a one-way rematch clause type of thing, right? So we're going to talk about a lot of these things in this video. I was gonna mix the video up and talk about some other current boxing topics, but we're gonna keep it strictly on 135 because it's a diva division. It's probably the most diva division out of all of the divisions currently. You have a lot of talent there, but we also got to remember, and we cannot forget that there are up and coming talent after these guys. These guys are just more famous, but you still got other talent that's around that same age, those mid 20s. You got guys like Michelle Rivera, you got Jose Valenzuela, you got Keyshawn Davis that's going to come up, you got Frank Martin, you got other fighters that are still coming up that are undefeated, that are prospects right now, or pretty close to being contenders, because Michelle Rivera is not far off. He's not too far off, right? You got him. You got Valenzuela, who's not far off neither. He's reaching contender area territory as well. And the same with Frank Martin. These guys are all just a couple of fights away from getting a title shot. Now, some of these guys are going to move to 140. Devin is going to eventually move up to 140. Same with T.O. is going up to 140 in this next fight. Ryan has had 2 fights there already. People don't really realize that Ryan fought Tago and Fortuna at 140. Yes, Pitbull is a contender as well. Pitbull is a contender. And then you got guys that are eventually going to come up from 130. All right. Chris Colbert is probably going to go up. Shakur Stevenson is going to eventually. I don't even know if Shakur Stevenson is going to even try to attempt to become undisputed at 130. I don't know if he's going to stick around long enough for that. He has already beaten the other best guy at 130. He already beat him. And Oscar Valdez. You have Joe Cordina there. Who do you have? You have Gutierrez that's holding the title. But if he can't easily secure those kind of fights, all right. If he can't, secure those fights easily, he's probably just gonna move up. I really don't know how that's gonna work out. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. What's up, Yusef? Relax. What's up, Ralph? What's good, Josh? Jorge, Watts, Loke, Russell. What's up, everyone that's joining us? Hit that like button, yo. So this division is all over the place, and I honestly don't believe a lot of these fights are going to happen. Now, let's talk about Tank and Ryan first. Let's start off with that. Let's discuss Tank and Ryan. Ryan Garcia, in my opinion, Ryan Garcia is no different from Tank. So when I see people criticize Tank, I don't believe Ryan is doing anything different. Like, I know Tank has been around longer, right? He's been around longer. He's been in multiple divisions. He's more established. He's more accomplished. He's more experienced, and he's older. But I don't feel like what they're doing over there on the PBC, I don't think is any different from what Ryan is doing now. I think the only difference is that Ryan is younger. I don't think Ryan is really chasing the best. All right. I don't compare, like, let's take Tank and Ryan and let's put those two right here for a second. Now, let's take Lomachenko, let's take Devin Haney, and let's take Teofimo Lopez, right? Teofimo Lopez was chasing Lomachenko when Lomachenko was still on top, right? He's been wanting the fight. Tio was a loudmouth young fighter that was not really that experienced. I'm talking about before the Comey fight. He's been calling out Lomachenko. He's been wanting to fight him. He was chasing Lomachenko. When Tank was already a top guy, Teofimo Lopez was going out his way to try to get a fight with Lomachenko. He wanted that fight more than anyone. So I can't compare Tank or Ryan to Tio. Even though Tio lost after beating Loma, Tio at least pursued the top guy, or at least one of the top guys. And he was very direct. So I give him a lot of credit for that. I know he lost his last fight, but I don't, it's okay. Fighters are going to take L's, especially when you are holding, 4 titles and you got to fight mandatories and stuff like that. It's not easy. Ryan and Tank are selective with who they face. This is what I'm basically saying. It's just that Ryan is younger and less accomplished. Devin, another guy who I feel that was very direct the entire time in wanting to fight Tank, in wanting to fight Teofimo Lopez, in wanting to fight Ryan Garcia. Very direct. He's been that way from the beginning. I think the only thing that you can make the argument for is the Lomachenko situation, where he didn't, I think he could have put up more of a fight and try to secure that fight with Lomachenko, according to Mauricio Solomon, right? This whole deal with the WBC title. They made a franchise, and according to Mauricio Solomon, Devin Haney, could have what's the word? I can't think of the word. Devin Haney, I'm trying to think of the word. Damn. Devin Haney basically should have put in more of a fight to try to get that title. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the only issue that I have with Devin Haney. But it never was a big issue to me anyway, because it made sense for Lomachenko to fight Teofimo Lopez over Devin Haney, in my opinion. It was a unification match, and it was a dangerous one on top of that. I never had an issue with the path that both Loma and Teo took to fight each other. Teo for Come won a title, looked impressive doing it. And Lomachenko beat Luke Campbell for Teofimo Lopez right after. I'm not going to complain about that. I never did on this channel. Even when everybody was making content about Loma ducking Haney and stuff like that, Haney, for the most part, has been on point. It's been very consistent. Petition. Thank you, Ronnie. Running Rev. Thank you. Petition for the title. Mauricio Solomon said, you had the option to petition for the title. Why didn't you? And this was to Bill Haney when they had that interview. I forgot whose channel posted it. It was on someone's channel where they had an interview with the both of them. And Team Haney didn't petition during the franchise title situation, right? So let's move on. Lomachenko, again, I don't need to discuss him. We already know what he's done. 3 division champion. He's fought a lot of guys at this point. He fought the younger guys. He fought a lot of people. He wasn't running for anyone. All right. Tank and Ryan, though, always been selective. Now, we know what Floyd Mayweather, how Floyd and Leonard Ellaby runs things. We've heard their interviews. When it comes to Tank, they're not fighting anyone outside of the PBC unless it's worth it for them. Titles are not worth it. Not at 135, not at 130, not at 140. They're not going to put Tank in there with anyone outside of the PBC unless they feel they're worth it. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it goes. They've been very outspoken about it, and that's the way it is. All right. Is Ryan big enough at this point to fight Tank Davis? Well, I think they're all big enough to fight Tank Davis. It's not like Pitbull Cruz or Mario Barrios or any of these other opponents that Tank has had recently, Rolly Romero. It's not like any of those guys were big enough neither. See, that's the contradiction of it all. That's the argument that people make. That's a problem that people have with Tank Davis. No different from Ryan Garcia. No difference with him and how Oscar runs him. I tweeted about this today. If you guys follow me on Twitter, or Twitter. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll see what I'm talking about. You know, it's the same situation. Devin Haney was in Ryan's face, calling him out like, "I want to fight you next." Neither one of them were big stars. I mean, Ryan will talk about his Instagram followers, but this is what I mean. They're using their star power in order to avoid top competition. What was the excuse not to fight Devin Haney? You're both on the zone. I mean, you're Golden Boy, you're Matchroom, but I mean, we can easily make the fight. You're both undefeated. There's no one in the way. Why can't we make the fight? Let's make the fight happen. They never made the fight. Now, going back to Tank Davis, Tank is going to sell arenas. He's going to do pay-per-views, whether they're successful or not. He's going to do his own numbers on his own without fighting any of these guys. They're going to be selective with whoever they fight. Is Ryan worthy of a fight at this point? Is he worthy? My answer to that is yes, he's worthy. But so was Lomachenko. So is Devin Haney. You know, they're all worthy of a fight. Ryan's not bringing any titles to the fight, so it's not about titles. You know, I mean, Devin Haney is undisputed, but Devin Haney's already tied up. Even Devin Haney was available. Even if Tank really wanted to fight, which he said he would do, not that it matters because it's not really up to Tank. It's really up to Floyd and Leonard Ellaby and them. If Tank wanted to fight, he couldn't get the fight with Haney now anyway, because Haney is now with Top Rank. And he has to either secure the rematch with Kambosos or go straight into fighting Lomachenko. So he's already tied up. He's tied up. And most likely, if he ever were to go to the other side of the street, it's a probably good chance that one of those at least one of those titles are going to get vacated, because it's going to be mandatory. There's going to be a long list of mandatories as long as you're holding the 4 titles. I know you guys are leaving a lot of comments. I'm going to read some of the comments here. Haney isn't ducking the hell out of Lomachenko. Haney is going to fight Lomachenko if he doesn't fight Kambosos. So he's not ducking the hell out of Lomachenko. That's not true. Ralph said, I think Floyd lied and said they tried to make up Tank Roy. I remember him and Leonard Ellaby saying that they tried to make the fight before. I don't know what happened. I don't know if that's a real thing. I don't know if these guys, that's the thing. That's the thing with these fighters and the promoters, at least. A lot of them use each other's names in order to, try to promote themselves. It's no different from Ryan Garcia saying that they were working on a Manny Pacquiao fight. When that wasn't happening at all. Reaching out to a camp doesn't mean you're working on the fight. It's like the first step. It's not like you're in real negotiations about making a fight. What's contract sent? Like what's going on with that? Kurt's corner says, all respect to Floyd, but he's holding up a lot of this division, prioritizing money and protecting O's more than great fights. Well, my problem with Floyd, and that's a good comment. My problem with Floyd is that he contradicts himself in some of the interviews that he do, because I've seen him do recent interviews where he was like, hey, in my time, we didn't have all these junior belts. We fought for the real belts. We didn't have all these belts. And it sounds like he's directly talking about his own fighter when he said that. So how do you say that, but you don't allow your fighter to fight opponents outside of just PBC? Or is it someone other than Floyd that doesn't want to make the flight? Is it Tank Davis? Is it Al Heyman? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's really going on in behind the scenes. I don't think any of us do. No one really does. All I know is that fights need to be made. We base a lot of things on what's said in interviews, but we can't believe everything we hear in these interviews. You know, I don't think any of these promoters, I mean, would you trust any of these guys? These guys are all business. They're all about making money. It's no different. It's not like it's just Floyd. They're all the same way. They're always going to keep it in-house. The only time they go outside of staying in-house is when a fight needs to be made because there's another fighter that has something valuable on the other side, whether it's the Zone, ESPN, or Showtime, Fox, PBC, whatever way you look at it. Bedoy says, Sup Wave, I was at the fight, saw the liver shot coming a mile away. Yes, sir. Hope you had a good time in there. Do you ever wonder, Janix asked me, do I ever wonder how boxing will look under a UFC business model? Yeah, I've talked about it before. You know, even though I don't think the UFC model is perfect, I think the problem with the UFC model is that it's very organized, but these guys are not making as much money. You know, they're not making that much money. And at the end of the day, you know, you got some all-time greats that probably didn't even secure $10 million throughout their whole career in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's right. You know, I think that the object is to get paid. You know, you do want these fighters to get paid. Uh Romania Mike says, I feel like Ryan had made a statement last night. I don't remember when Fortuna got dropped 3 times like that before. I think he deserves some type of title shot. I think the win was good. I think that Ryan I think Ryan is in a good position to fight for a title. I don't think I've ever like been against that. It's just that A, who's willing to fight him, you know, and B, who is he willing to fight for a title? You know, like Devin Haney, for example, holds a title. And at 140, which Ryan is actually he's actually officially fighting at right now. Is Ryan Garcia calling out the champ? No. Ryan Garcia called out 2 people last night. He called out Teofimo Lopez at 140, and he called out Tank Davis at 135. Teofimo Lopez has not returned since he lost to Cambosos. And Tank Davis holds a junior WBA title. He didn't call out Devin Haney. Not that he would get the fight anyway, but he didn't call him out. And he didn't call him out when Devin Haney was available to fight. So this is what I mean about Ryan and Tank. They're the same thing. I don't think there's any difference between the two. It's just that one is more accomplished than the other. That's the only difference between the two. One of them is older and more accomplished than the other. But they're both doing the same thing. They're being selective for who they face. You know, and I don't always believe that whoever Ryan calls out, is who they're actually trying to make a fight with. I believe certain call outs for certain fighters, but I don't necessarily believe that Ryan is trying to actually fight all the people that he's calling out. Right? He might be honest about T.O. and Tank. He might be honest, but does Oscar feel that way? Just like you guys get on Leonard Ellaby and Floyd Mayweather, I don't think Oscar is any better. I don't think Oscar is any better. As a promoter, is he really that better of a promoter? I don't believe so. You know? Soccer asks, do I think Devin the Dream Haney has an unattractive style, lack of promotional team, and or other? He does have the belts, thoughts. No, I don't think he has an unattractive style. I just don't think he's a knockout artist. But he's a really, really good boxer. And I think his performance of Kambosos, which was his biggest fight to date, he proved how good he can box. He literally beat a 4-belt champion with just a jab. Now, like I said in the Gamboa fight that I covered here, all right, I said in the Gamboa fight, I wish Devin Haney would take it turn it up another notch. Whenever he's dominant in a fight, I would like Devin Haney to destroy his opponent, but that's just not him. It's not him. He sticks to the game plan for the most part. For the most part, he sticks to the game plan. I think the only time we've seen him not stick to the game plan and got hurt from it is when he fought Jorge Linares. I think there was a point in that fight. I personally believe that the Jorge Linares fight was probably his best fight. I think I've said this on his channel. That was one of his best fights at an elite level, because Haney was fighting a dangerous fight with with Jorge. He didn't just easily outbox him and stick to what he was doing. He started changing. He was actually fighting like he was trying to knock him out, unlike Gamboa, unlike Kambosos. You know what I'm saying? I think Haney knew he was going to Australia, knew that he had to dominate Kambosos on the cards. Most likely, if Teofimo Lopez wasn't able to stop him, we knew that Devin Haney wasn't going to be able to stop him, right? So he went to Australia, and what did he do? He thoroughly outboxed him, and he stuck to the game plan. He didn't make any adjustments because he wasn't forced to. It was just too easy. You know what I'm saying? But good question, and thanks, Soccer. King Jimbo says Ryan's wins over Campbell and Fortuna are probably better than any of Tank's wins at 135. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I wasn't a fan of the Pitbull Cruz fight, but I wouldn't say that Fortuna in his current state was a better fighter than Pitbull. The reason why I wasn't a fan of the Pitbull fight is because I already knew what level Tank was at of a fighter. Ryan, on the other hand, he fought a Fortuna at 140. He fought a blown up Fortuna who he's basically lost all of his major fights. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Luke Campbell. Luke basically lost all of his major fights. You know what I'm saying? So even though Pitbull Cruz, was still want to come up himself, he was still fresh. He didn't fight him at the tail end of his career. Luke Campbell retired. He retired. That was his last fight. It's not like Luke stuck around and was still putting himself back in title contention. Like, no, he retired. He was at the tail end of his career. Fortuna's at the end of his career. Even if he doesn't retire, at this point, anybody that fights him is just looking to pick up a good win. I could see some of these guys I named earlier, like maybe a Frank Martin or a Valenzuela or a Keyshawn Davis. Those are the guys that I expect to fight Fortuna. No real top guy is looking to fight him at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really, like, let's look at Tank's thing. I hated the Gamboa fight, so I'm not going to defend that fight at all. I hated that fight. Not going to defend that. I do like the Barrios fight. All right. I do like it. I wasn't asking for it, but what I liked about the fight is that Barrios was undefeated. He was good, and Tank actually really fought him at 140. I thought, what, when they made that fight, I thought they was gonna bring Barrios down to 135. I didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? But at 135, you could make the argument, but that's because Tank hasn't fought at 135 at all his fight. He went from 135 to 130 again to 140 to 135 and 135 again. You know? So that's how I feel about that. Tank is kind of bouncing around. He's bouncing around. And to be honest, man, and if we look towards the future of this division, as we look, like, these guys are going to move up to 140. And these younger guys are going to take over the division. All these guys at 135, all these stars. Ryan is at 140 right now. I don't believe Tank is going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. Because I think the way that Leonard and Floyd look at it, they're like, we really don't need Tank to fight this dude. They don't want to work with Oscar. It has nothing to do with Ryan. They don't want to do anything with Oscar. And honestly, does Oscar really feel confident about Ryan going in there with Tank right now? Let me know in the comments who you guys see winning that fight. I'm curious. Who do you guys have winning between Tank and Ryan? If they were to fight today, we're doing all this talk. We're doing this talk about Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis and resumes and stuff. If Ryan were to fight Tank Davis tomorrow at 135, who wins the fight? Let me know in the comments. I think Tank knocks Ryan Garcia out in similar fashion that he did Rolly Romero. Oh, will the fight be good and competitive? Yes, it will be. Until the knockout, yes. Ryan Garcia Tank is all wrong for Ryan Garcia. Even now, even with the improvements. And I said to you guys yesterday, as I was watching the show, we was doing a lot of commentary, I seen a lot of improvements in Ryan Garcia. Definitely going to give him his props. It was a solid win, and he improved on some things, and they're going to keep improving. He's going to keep getting better. For today, right now, will Ryan Garcia beat Tank Davis? All you agree that Tank is going to stop him. He's going to stop him. This is why I don't believe the fight is really going to happen. And you know what? And I tweeted this earlier. If Tank Davis knocks Ryan out, he's still going to receive all the criticism that he's been getting throughout his career. Because we're going to now look back and say, oh, he just beat Ryan Garcia. We all know he was chinny. Ryan didn't really beat anyone. That's what we're going to say. People are going to criticize Tank until he fights a Devin Haney, a Lomachenko. If he had fought Teofimo Lopez, those are the wins that, like, those guys are more proven. I've been wanting the Lomachenko fight with Tank since 130. Ever since he beat Jose Pedraza, I've been asking for the fight. I don't know about you guys, but since the Pedraza win, I've been wanting the fight with Lomachenko since then. Because at that point, I didn't really know what Tank. You know how we feel about Ryan right now? I feel the same exact way about Tank before he fought Pedraza. When he destroyed Pedraza, and you know what? That win has aged very well because no one has looked nearly as good against Pedraza as Tank did since that fight. The fight, it aged very well. It aged well. Not only was Tank, inexperienced at that time, I thought it was too soon. He destroyed him, and Pedraza has not looked so bad ever in a fight. Aged very well, that fight there. So yeah, I don't think the fight happens. You know, I actually believe I'm not going to put any blame to it. I don't think Team Ryan Garcia is as interested as they seem. I think Ryan might be interested in it, but I don't know if Oscar is interested in the Tank fight right now. All right. And the same with Tank's team. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to sit here and try to talk about how they're thinking, but what I will say is that in order for that side to make a fight for Tank and to step outside of PBC, it has to be really valuable for them. And it's not really valuable for them. It's really not. At least not, like there's no titles on the line here. Ryan does have a name now, but is it enough for them to stop fighting the current fighters that they've been facing? I don't think so. It got to be something really, really worth it. Like, look how hard it was to make. They couldn't get Wilder. We couldn't get Wilder and Joshua. We still haven't officially got Spence and Bud. We're probably going to get it, and it's probably going to be announced. But look, the time it took. They literally waited until everything was cleaned up on the PBC end for Spence before making the Bud fight, or even consider making it, really trying to work it out. I'm not AI. I just read your comment. I don't know if you responded to me, but I'm not basing a single victory for leverage when I'm just making a point about the win itself and how I wanted him to fight Lomachenko after that win. I'm not using it as leverage. I'm just making a point that when Tank looked that good, I wanted him to fight Lomachenko next because him and Lomachenko was both at 130. That's the only point I'm making when I said that. Yeah, I think Spence is gonna duck Rolly. I'm not. There's no way Spence is gonna fight Rolly. Rolly is just way too strong. Like, even though he got knocked out, did you see how strong Rolly was for like the first 5 rounds? He's too strong. Like, he'll dominate Spence. Spence is just not at that level yet. I think he needs to beat Crawford first, and then if he can beat Crawford, then maybe he could fight Rolly and beat him. All right, so let's keep talking. Let's talk Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia. I like that fight. Since they're basically fighting at 140, I love the fight. Now, Tio's going to be making his return soon, right? If Tio is back and being like the Tio that we remember him to be before the George Kambosos fight, if he looks good, if he looks strong at 140, I know he was struggling to make weight at 135. If he looks strong at 140 in his next fight, and he looks anything like he did before he lost the fight, I don't see Ryan being Tio yet. I still feel that Tio, even in defeat to George Kambosos, I still believe that Teofimo Lopez is better than Ryan Garcia right now. Ryan, again, even with the improvements in his defense in this fight, I still believe that Devin, Tank, and Tio beats him right now. That can change in the next year, but I still feel that those guys are better than him right now. I think Ryan, as far as overall boxing ability, or like as far as overall talent, I think he's just a little bit, I think he's still one step behind those guys. I think he is as just as bigger as a puncher as Teal and Tank is. But as far as skills and overall talent, I think he's still a little bit behind the other ones. A little bit. That's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that fight if it were to happen at 140. If Teo comes back and he looks strong in his next fight, his return fight, and they're able to work something out where Teo fights uh, Ryan at 140, let me know who you think is going to win that fight. Again, even if Ryan is winning the fight, I still believe that if Teo chin checks him, he's going to knock Ryan out. That's just my pick. That's just my opinion. I feel the same. I feel the same about Teo as I do about Tank fighting Ryan, like right now. I think CMP. I definitely believe that Teo is capable, or Jim. I'm sorry, King Jimbo. I think Teo is definitely capable of hurting Ryan. Who has a better resume, Tank or Ryan? Tank, as he should, because he's fighting a lot longer and he's been fighting at 3 different divisions. Absolutely. All right, so another fight that I do like, and that's the thing too. Remember when Tank fought Barrios at 140? And everybody, Leonard, and was talking about Josh Taylor and stuff like that. You got to remember, Ryan is fighting at 140. All right. But we're only comparing him to 135 pounders. He said he's willing to come back down to fight Tank. He didn't say anybody else. He said he'll come back down to fight Tank at 135. Now, I like the Jojo Diaz fight. All right. I think that's a very good fight. I think that's a better fight than Fortuna and Luke Campbell. All right. Jojo Diaz isn't the biggest puncher. All right. And he is a lot smaller than Ryan. But at least Joe boxes very good and he's going to bring the fight to you. He's no pushover. He's very durable. But what I don't like is if Ryan is going to fight Jojo Diaz, if it's at 140, that's way too big for Jojo. Jojo was literally fighting at 126 just a few years ago. All right, went up to 130, picked up a belt, then went to 135. Jojo is a small lightweight. He is a small lightweight. He's a very good fighter, but he's a small lightweight. If Ryan does the same thing and fight Jojo at 140, in my opinion, at 140, it's kind of a mismatch because it's a mismatch simply because even if Joe is winning rounds, I don't think Joe can really hurt Ryan at 140. You know, if Ryan can make 135, at least if he can make the weight, then the fight, I have no problems. I have no problems when fighters can make it. I mean, Ryan's going to be bigger than him regardless. All right. But making 135 is harder. Okay. He's not going to be as strong at 135 as he would be at 140. Jojo will be blown up at 140, just like Fortuna was last night. I think Jojo is better than Fortuna, but he's just too small. So I love the fight. And that's the fight that I think we're going to get. I don't think we're getting Tank. I think Tank talk is all promo. I think Teofimo fight would be a little bit more realistic than the Tank fight. Only because Teal didn't look good in his last fight. So I still don't believe that is a real fight. I think Jojo is next, and I think that's it. I think Jojo Diaz is the next fight for Ryan Garcia. I just hope that is at 135 and not at 140. King Jimbo says, I heard Ryan say he won't come down to 135 and Tank fight has to happen at 140. He said Tank's already fought at 140 and they need to fight there because he can make 135. If that's true, and if I am wrong, and if that is true, I don't think it changes my opinion about how the fight would go at all. I think at 140 or 135, Tank wins. I think the Barrios fight was a good win for him. I think it was a good win. You know, I know I wasn't asking for it, but it was a good win. It wasn't something that I was asking for. Obviously, you know, Barrios is not a top tier. He wasn't a top tier junior welterweight at the time, but it's still a good fight just because of the size difference. You know, I mean, look at, you know, Barrios and Keith Thurman. You know, Barrios was even able to hurt Keith at welterweight, which is crazy, you know. AI says, Wave, I was pointing out wins over common opponents doesn't dictate supremacy, which wasn't aimed at you, to be clear. In that case, Pitbull had the best victory over Gamboa, which is bad analysis evaluation. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. And no, I agree with you. Yeah, I actually get annoyed because I feel that a lot of these promoters are doing this with fighters. You like instead of directly going at the best fighter, what do they do? You know, they want to get the better win over the common opponent. You know, that's what they all been doing with Gamboa. You know what I'm saying? Like Gamboa's been getting abused. You know, Gamboa's been getting abused because they just keep throwing him in the ring with like fighters that they all know that they're gonna beat Gambo up and just use his name because he was one of the top prospects in the sport at one point in his career. You know, Marlon says Ryan can make 135. He is just lazy and knows and like how he feels at 140. And listen, I don't blame him. But we have to keep those same standards for him. Like now that you're at 140, fight real 140 guys. Why are you having guys move up to from 140 to fight you? 135 to fight you. You know, I don't see enough people talking about that. Now that he's had two fights at 140, you had two fights there. Why aren't anyone saying, well, why don't you fight Regis Prograis? Why aren't you calling out Regis Prograis? Call out Jose Cepeda. Call out Josh Taylor. Call out Antoine Russell Jr. Call out Montana Love. You're not calling out any of those people. You're calling out a bunch of guys at 135. You have Fortuna move up to 140, looking bloated and out of shape. Not enough people are saying that. I'm not seeing the same thing with everybody else. You know, I mean, going up and having a fight at 140 is one thing, but you've had two now. And you just fought a 135 pounder. Now, when Tank fought Leo Santa Cruz, right? He went back down. Did he go back down to fight Leo Santa Cruz? Yeah, he fought him at 130. People complained about it. Why? Because Leo only had one fight at 130. And Tank had already fought at lightweight and came back down to fight Leo. But he only had one fight at 135. He fought Gamboa there, a fight that we really don't care about. It didn't really prove anything. We know how that fight was going to go. But this is what I'm saying. Ryan is not doing anything different from Gamboa. I'm sorry, not Gamboa. This guy, Tank. He's doing the same thing. He's moving the same way. Neither one of them are moving like Devin Haney, in my opinion, or moving like Lomachenko, or moving like, Even Teofimo Lopez. All I hear is star talk. I'm hearing viewership. I'm hearing tickets sold. I'm hearing Instagram followers. Fame, all of that stuff. More people know me. This, that, and the third. I'm not. I'm not as a boxing fan. I don't care for that stuff. I know it's important. I know it's a factor when it comes to business. But those two are all business. Both Ryan and Tank. The other guys, they're more about fighting the best. I mean, they're with the money in the business as well, but if the business makes sense and the fight makes sense, well, if the fight makes sense first, let's make the fight happen. Well, Fortuna not making 135 says a lot about him because he looks terrible at 140. You know what I'm saying? Fortuna looked terrible at 140. If he says that he can't make 135 anymore, is it because of laziness? You guys got to remember, if you guys been following Fortuna's career, he's he's lost on the scale twice in his career. So can he not make 135 anymore because he's being lazy and he's not preparing properly? I mean, Ryan Garcia looked full at 140. He looked good at 140. He looked strong at 140. When we saw him at the weigh-in, he looked good. He looked like he belonged there. Fortuna didn't look like he belonged there. When Mikey moved up, he didn't look like he belonged there. Mikey Garcia, when he moved up to fight Spence, did he look like a welterweight to you? No, he looked terrible. Looked terrible. He was a blown up junior welterweight. What's up, Raul? What's good with you? Brotherhood says Fortuna versus Gamboa next. Yeah, that would be a good fight. Let me not say a good fight. What I say that it makes sense. I think Fortuna beats him though. I think Fortuna wins that fight. They're similar though, if you be honest. Like, if we're being honest, they're kind of similar. They're both really chinny. They both always been kind of chinny. Does Ryan versus Tank do over 500,000 pay-per-view buys? Uh I don't think so. King Jimbo. I don't think so. I think Ryan and Tank, like let's say if it really were to happen next, I would say I can't see it doing any more than I say 300. I think 300 is fair. I say maybe 300. 300 is fair. I think 300 is fair. hmm I can't see it doing 500, but 300, yeah. Like I think it would. I don't think it's gonna blow. Like I don't think it's like it would be a good fight. They would sell it well, but I'm not gonna like get crazy with it. But you know what? I am not a pay-per-view numbers guru. Like I actually scroll over articles that talk about pay-per-view numbers and like I'll glance at them, but I'm not like a pay-per-view guru. I think early in my career, I did talk about it a little bit more, but I not early in my career, but early on my YouTube channel. I think I used to talk about it a lot more, but I don't really talk about it. I kind of got tired of it because it started just getting it just talking about the business too much was getting annoying to me. What's up, Rebel Life? What's good with you? Tank versus Ryan would be big. I think I don't think it would be all about the YouTube. I mean, not the YouTube, the pay-per-view buys. I think the pay-per-view buys would be solid. I think it'll be more of a show, like a live event. I think it's gonna be a lot of like famous people going, Um it's gonna be one of those big Vegas celebrity turnouts, you know. That's just my opinion. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Haven. I think Tank beats Ryan still, and I think he stops him. All right, so I think that's really where the 135 division is going to go. All these guys are going to move up to 140, and I just can't see most of them fighting each other at 135. I think at some point 135 is going to be about it's going to be similar to welterweight. I see Bud going up after Spence and Bud is done, whether they fight twice or not. I see Spence and Bud going up to 154. I see Boots, Ortiz, maybe some of those guys getting it on, Stanionis, all of those guys. Maybe some of those guys will fight each other at 147. I don't really see Spence or Bud fighting any of those up and coming guys. I think the only one that might happen is maybe Spence and Ortiz Jr., Virgil Ortiz. I can see that happening only because that would be a big Texas fight. That would be a big fight for Texas. They're both from there. You know what I'm saying? So that would be a good fight that I could see them actually making like a pay-per-view down the line or something like that. All right, but even that fight, I can't see that fight happening for a couple of years. All right. Garcia versus Comey is a good fight. That's a good fight. That's a good fight at 140. I like that fight. That's a good fight. That makes sense. What's up, Haven? Yeah, everything has been great, man. I had a great week, great birthday week. Been on vacation all week, just relaxing and having fun. It's been a great week, man. Can't complain. All right. Comey and Pedraza. Aren't they supposed to fight? My Yeah, they are supposed to fight. They're gonna fight in August. Okay. They're gonna fight in August. Yeah, I was talking about Prograde yesterday a little bit, or the other day, and I just hope Prograde can get a fight, man. Just wasting too many of his good years, Um, he was already older. He's not like he started pro young as a young fighter, and he was in the tournament. He lost to Josh, but it just seems like ever since that loss, we never got to know. Like, I don't know why Prograde and Ramirez never happened. That fight should have happened. I mean, there was once upon a time they were both on top rank. Um, it's just that fight should have happened. You know, Pedraza beat Ray Beltran over the weekend. If he did, I mean, it's a solid win. I mean, Ray's old, man. Ray's been around for a long time. Ray's been around for a long time. Wait, who beat Ray Beltran? Look him up. Who beat Ray Beltran? Nah, Beltran lost to Cesar Francis. Why are we talking about Ray Beltran? I don't know. Why are we talking about him? What's up, YouTube? YouTube, thank you for subscribing. Welcome. Yeah, Pedraza is gonna fight Coleman. All right, you guys are confusing me in the comments a little bit, but I like Coleman and Pedraza. I like that fight. That's a good fight. Oh, who do I see? Who do I see fighting? Who do I see? Pedraza. Who wins that fight? I want to say. I want to say Pedraza on points or Coleman. Nah, I see. That's a tough one to call. That's a tough one to call. That's a good fight. I gotta really I actually gotta do film study on that one. I'm not sure about that one. Oh, Charles, Edward Cheese, thank you for the donation, bro. Thank you. Came through last night as well. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Brotherhood says you gotta stay on for 3 hours after that super chat. Yeah, so I think at this point, 135, we need to just we need to just we need the fights to happen, man. That's all we can really do at this point. Um, I really hope that I really hope that Kambosos and Haney doesn't fight again. You know, if Kambosos and Haney doesn't fight again, then Haney is gonna fight um Lomachenko. But they're gonna make that Kambosos Haney fight. You know, I don't think George is gonna walk away from the opportunity to fight for undisputed again. You're never gonna get the opportunity to fight for those titles again. You know, with this kind of talent in this division, I don't want to say never, all right, because I was surprised when Kambosos beat Haney. But it's gonna be harder because of all of the talent that's in the division. And I think the fight happens. I'm not gonna even work myself up and act like, you know, Haney's just gonna move on after signing a deal where he was basically being forced into a rematch clause if he were to win. You know what I'm saying? Like everything worked out, you know, into Kambosos' favor. And he's gonna have to honor that rematch clause. It is what it is. You know, I can't see that fight not happening again. You know, and I think if it doesn't happen again, it'll be something else, maybe because of an injury or something like that. If it's going to be some kind of delay in the fight, I don't believe that Kambosos is going to walk away. Doesn't matter if he was dominated or not. Even if he were knocked out, Kambosos is not going to walk away for an opportunity to fight for those titles again. You know, he won those titles, and his fight in one of the best fights of the year. And he's definitely, yes, Matt, he's definitely going to activate that clause without a doubt. You know, I read some reports about Bob Arum and them trying to move on and him fighting Lomachenko next. I read that. I don't believe that George is going to walk away from fighting for those titles again. You know, he wasn't knocked out. He wasn't hurt. He was thoroughly outboxed, but he's going to take the opportunity and try to just be more aggressive in the next fight. You know, that's pretty much what we're going to get. Right. I've been wondering who Lomachenko would fight on his return fight. I honestly don't know. You know, if Lomachenko can't get Haney and Kambosos next, I really don't know who he's going to fight. I really don't know. I just don't know. You know, uh, I don't see. I don't know. I'm looking down the list here. I'm looking at the list here, and Nakatilia. You know, I brought up Nakatilia the other day. I brought up Abdulayev, who just beat. He just stopped Jorge Linares recently. I know Devin Haney stopped him, but just to get into another fight and just be active, that's a realistic fight. You know, um, yeah, I don't really see a lot of these fights happening for Loma right now. It's not that many options out there, to be honest, for Loma, and there's not many people that really want to fight him at this point. Tank is not going to fight him. Teofimo went up to 140. That's done. That's dead. I'm not even bringing up the rematch. We're never going to see that rematch again. You know? So Tank is out. Ryan is not going to fight Lomachenko. Devin is caught up. He's tied up. And I don't think Loma is going to fight any of the new prospects. I think the only fight that I can see in the near future, if Haney doesn't fight Loma first, I can see Shakur moving up and fighting Lomachenko. But I don't see any of the active guys at 135, like the top guys fighting Lomachenko right now. You know? Yeah, I think Tom Rank is going to definitely do a tune-up. I mean, he's had good 2 comeback wins. The one against Comey and one against Nakatani. I mean, the win against Nakatani, the stoppage of him was good because we know that Nakatani, gave Tio a tough time in there. I thought about Pitbull Cruz, but I don't see Pitbull Cruz getting a fight with Lomachenko. I just don't see it happening. Um, yeah, I think it's Janix asked, do I think no one wants to fight Loma because of the business behind it or just that they're ducking? I think it's a little bit of both, you know? I think it's a little bit of both. High risk. They're looking at a high risk, low reward. And it's not a low reward because it's a great win to have. But then you can make the argument that, like, hey, Loma lost twice already. I see a lot of those comments a lot about Loma losing to Salido and recently losing to Teofimo Lopez. What I will say is that Loma doesn't look as invincible as he's looked in the past. When he was definitely like a top 3 pound for pound guy, he doesn't look as invincible as he does. And he is getting older. But I don't know why people are just not interested. I mean, it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. Do you think Ryan would even consider fighting Lomachenko? Oscar would not let him fight him. PBC, they're not going to let Tank fight him. They didn't let him fight him before. They're not going to let him fight him now. I mean, maybe they let him because he is older. But again, do they want to take that fight? They're not going to. They're keeping it in-house. They're not going to deal with it. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I'm cool with Loma fighting anyone. I think Loma, regardless of him, getting a little older, I think that's a great win for any of these guys that I named in this video. From anyone at 135, it's a good win. Once we talking 140 guys, that's a different conversation. But anyone that's currently actively fighting at 135 or can still make 135 is a good fight for Loma. I don't think anyone would really be much of a favorite in fighting Loma right now. These guys are moving up to 140. It's going to happen again at 140. That's another point that I wanted to make. The guys that's moving up to 140 are not going to be fighting the top tier 140 fighters when they get there. The guys that's going to move up to 140 are going to still be pursuing fights with each other. I'm speaking on Teo, Ryan, and Devin Haney. Okay, those guys specifically. All right, and even Tank Davis. Those four kings, all right, which is what they call them, they're not gonna be fighting top tier 140 pounders, because those guys at top tier 140 can easily fight at 147 right now. All right. So when we look at, let's see, let me pull it up real quick. When we look at 140. Now, even moving up from 140 and 135, you would think that they would be at least a fight away from finding a top tier 140 guys. We got Josh Taylor up there. All right. I don't think any of these guys fight Josh Taylor right away. You know, I don't think Josh Taylor, I just don't see it happening. You got Jose Ramirez. I can see a fight being made with Ramirez. I think Ramirez, even though he's had a lot of success in recent years, his wins weren't always so pretty. All right. When I look at Ramirez, he was stopped by Josh, right? Didn't look great in his last fight against Pedraza. Didn't look great. He won, but it was a tough fight, very competitive. He didn't look great against Victor Postol, and I can tell you, you can make a great case that Victor Postol won that fight. It was definitely a close fight. I remember doing that fight, covering that fight live. Very debatable fight. All right. Maurice Hooker knockout was a great win. It's probably his greatest win. Him knocking out Maurice Hooker was his best win by far. And Maurice was undefeated still at that time. Jose Zepeda was another fight, which I think you can go either way. So I can see some of these guys on 135 eventually trying to go for Ramirez. You know, it's a more winnable fight, and it's a very credible win. You know, very credible win. Even the Imam fight was close back then. But yeah, I was there. I saw that. He beat Imam. So I don't want to go there with that. All right. But listen, guys at 140, tough fights. Jack Catterall, obviously. Sandor Martin, who beat Mikey Garcia. Tough fight. Not easy. I don't see any of these guys from 135 fighting Regis Prograis. Period. None of them fight Josh. None of them will fight Regis Prograis. They won't do it. They just won't do it. I don't see any of these guys at 135 that's moving up fighting any of those two. Those two is going to be left off the menu completely. And Gary and Antoine Russell. Absolutely not. They're not going to fight Gary Antoine Russell. Absolutely not. That guy is just a headache you don't want to deal with. No one is going to want to deal with that guy. He's bigger, he's stronger, and he's just too much of a pressure fighter for these smaller guys moving up from 135. I can't see any of these guys putting them in rank with it. I can see Arnold Barbosa Jr. type of fight happening maybe with some of these guys from 135. You know, I think Zepeda might still be dangerous too. All right, I don't really see them fighting him neither right now. It could happen. I'm not going to go as far as like Regis Prograis, but I think I don't think that's like a top guy. I think these guys are just going to move up from 135 and just possibly fight each other at 140. You know, or go down this list like and get out of the top 10 territory and go down and fight some of the older guys or some of the guys that's been around. I see Jose Pedraza being a future opponent for Haney or for Ryan or for Teofimo Lopez. You know, if win or lose to Comey, Pedraza and Comey are going to be future guys because those are guys that moved up as well. You know, those are guys that moved up. You know, Richardson Hitchens. I don't know what kind of relation. I know I don't know what's going on with him right now. I don't know what's up with him. I think he's left Mayweather Promotions, so I'm not sure. Brandon Lee, Brandon Lee is another guy at 140 that I don't see a fight happening with him. Yeah, none of these fights are gonna happen. You know how much we love 140. 140 is gonna just be. It's gonna be flooded with a lot of guys that's not gonna fight each other. They're not gonna fight each other. It's just gonna be too many. It's gonna be too many people, and everybody's gonna be playing it safe. I see fights with Pedraza, Comey, Ramsey Barthélemy. I see those guys, maybe Mario Barrios again. Mario Barrios is probably going to come back down. Those are realistic fights that I see these guys from 135 taking. Do I think Haney beats Taylor right now? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You know, as good as Haney looked good against Cambosos, I think Taylor still like Taylor didn't look good against Catterall, but I'm not ready to just write him completely off. You know, Taylor is still way better than anyone that Haney has actively fought at 135. I'm not gonna go there with that yet. You know, I don't know. And I also don't know if Josh Taylor is really comfortable with moving up to 147. You know, um, I don't know if he's comfortable because even though he's a top tier guy at 140, I mean he's undisputed. He is the best fighter on paper at 140. I think he gets beaten by the top tier guys at 147 and also the top contenders at 147. You know, I'm not saying that the fights are not good, but I would probably be leaning towards, let's say if he were to fight a Boots or a Virgil Ortiz, I would definitely be leaning towards those two and beating Josh. Not too sure about I think Stan Jonas would beat Josh Taylor. I think. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. I'm just telling you, like, if I had to do a prediction video and they were gonna fight tomorrow, I would probably lean towards Stan Jonas. You know? Um Connor Ben, on the other hand, I think Josh can possibly beat him. Staniotis struggled with Delorme, but he looked great against Butayev, who I think is a better fight. You know, the Butayev fight was definitely the best fight. Delorme, a lot of people just struggled with Delorme. You know, I mean, even Bud struggled against Delorme in the first few rounds. Uh, yeah, I think Zepeda and Ramirez are gonna fight again. I just read your comment, Igor. Yeah, I'm looking up 140 right now and seeing what else. But I honestly believe that all of these guys are it's gonna be the same thing. 135 is gonna be great for the guys that move up from 130, like Shakur, and it's gonna be great for these younger fighters too, like Frank Martin and Keyshawn Davis. Marion says, if I was Haney, I would grab that IBO from Hughes at 135. Well, Haney's tied up. He's not going to be and if he's staying at 135, I don't think he's going to be much in a position to do much when you're undisputed. That's if he's trying to hold on to all of those belts, which I don't think he will. Marion, I agree with you, and I've said this before on this channel. I want Shakur Stevenson to go for undisputed at 130. I think that if you have the opportunity to do it, do it. It's a great way. It's great to be undisputed. Historically, it's great. And I think that he should try to do. I don't think there's any reason to rush up to 135. All right. Mind you, I do believe that Shakur beats everybody at 135. I think he beats everyone that's actively boxing there, including Devin Haney. I think Shakur and Tank. I believe that Shakur Stevenson beats them. I think it'd be risky. I think if he were to fight Tank, obviously it'd be either Tank either KOs him or Stevenson beats him on points. But I would be leaning towards Stevenson winning. And I also think that if Stevenson boxed Loma today, Stevenson wins. And I've changed my views on that. At one point I really didn't think anyone beat Lomachenko, but I like Stevenson now. Now I like Stevenson. I would pick Stevenson to win today. I think he's got enough experience as a pro boxer now. Not so much when he was at 126, but now at this point, I would say Stevenson would do it. Like, as good as Devin Haney looks incredible, but Stevenson is just, he's just too good, man. His only flaw, in my opinion, is just he's not a knockout artist. Doesn't have the biggest power, but he's really good. Just my opinion, though. Like I see Stevenson as far as the young prospects, guys. I think Stevenson is going to be, easily a pound for pound top 3 guy. Excuse me, of these younger guys. I think he's going to be a top 3. When Usyk and Bud and all of these guys are done, I think Haney is going to be in that spot soon in the top 3. And I think if Bam Rodriguez keep fighting the way he's fighting right now, I think he has potential to get there too. I think Bam Rodriguez has got potential. I think Bam, he's good. He's dope. He's really good too. He's good. He's good. Yeah, no, the Haney fight with Shakur is a very good fight. But I don't see that fight happening anytime soon. There's so many other fights that's on the table. The only time I see those guys fighting is when they're like, let's say they're like at the top of the top and they're still like they're finally they're in the same division, and they're like there's nothing left. That's the only time I can really see these guys fighting each other. It's just way too many options. They're not in the same division. And I think they got to really rule a division for them to fight. Their sparring video that went viral on YouTube, that Dante Boxing Nation posted is, I watched that sparring session like a few times. It's old now, but it's You know, they both gotten so much better since then, but they still were both very, very good at that point. YouTube said they're gonna fight when they're both 40. uh yeah, I think Stan Jonas is a good test for anybody. AI. I think Josh moving up, great test, dangerous fight. Um, I'm high on Stan Jonas's jab. All right. I like his jab and I like his toughness. You know, I think he could still be outboxed, but his jab, he has an elite jab for sure. You know, and he can crack as well. He has a great jab. I would love to see Stan Jonas against Boots or Virgil Ortiz Jr. Love those fights. All right. So yeah, I mean, 135. I think I pointed up all of the you know, options that we have. And I think for the most part, I think it's pretty fair to say that most of these fights that we want won't happen at 135. You know, it's just too much diva stuff going on, and I think it's gonna get moved right over to the 140 division. You know, because everybody is just too protective. You know, Devin is caught up in contracts, so his fate is already his story is already set because he has to fight Kambosos again, and he has to fight Lomachenko after, like, he signed with Top Rank, so he's stuck. He's stuck there, at least for the next two fights. You know, I feel like from now all the way into 2023, we already at least know the next two fights. You know, I think the only thing that can change him fighting Kambosos or Lomachenko is, you know, if Lomachenko takes a fight and takes a loss in between that time, then maybe we can get something else. You know, Ryan Garcia overall good win. Like I said, he improved in defense. Um, you know, but he didn't answer any questions for me. You know, all he did was pick up a good win, and that's it. You know, I don't think any differently of him. Like, I know what he's capable of. All right, but you know, I think it's gonna be some time before we get him in the ring with with uh with a Tank or like, they're gonna draw it out as long as they could. They're gonna draw it out as long as they could, especially because uh they want Ryan to continue improving. You know, that's it. Ralph, I actually don't have any questions. It's more about, I don't think that we're gonna get any of the big fights with him. I think they're gonna keep improving him. Okay. I think with Ryan, they're just gonna keep putting him in there with solid fighters so he can keep improving. You know, still working on his craft. In the meantime, they're gonna throw Tank's name out there, Teo's name out there, Haney's name, whoever has at 140. Those names are gonna come up, but the actual opponents are gonna be different from who he's actually bringing up in his interviews. That's the way I look at it. You know what I'm saying? He's good, but I still don't think that they throw him in there with Tank next or Teofimo. All right. I think Jojo Diaz will be the next opponent for sure. And if it's at 140, which it probably will be, I definitely got Ryan beating Jojo. You know, I definitely got him beating Jojo Diaz. All right. So that's what I see with Ryan. I don't think any of the Tank stuff is real. I don't think any of the Teofimo Lopez stuff is real. Rolly versus Jojo is a good fight. Who do I think would win that? Uh, Damn, that's a good fight, actually. That's a good fight. It's not for nothing. Even though Rolly got knocked out recently, I do feel that he looked better than I've seen him in previous fights. Like when he fought Anthony Yiggett and he fought Jackson Marinas, he didn't look that good to me. But he looked way better against Tank in that fight. You know, his best performance is when he got knocked out, which is kind of crazy. And it sounds wild, but it does also like prove that like he leveled up in that fight. Like he leveled up for that fight. You know, uh, that's a tough fight because I still feel like JoJo is better than him, but I feel we know that Rolly's much bigger and he hits much harder than JoJo. So that's why I think that fight is I can't see JoJo knocking out Rolly. I can see JoJo schooling him some of the rounds, but Rolly's a big wild puncher. You know what I'm saying? So that's a close one. Um yeah, so when it comes to Ryan, I see JoJo being the next opponent. When it comes to Tank Davis, uh, I can't predict the Tank Davis fight. I can never predict the Tank. Tank can literally fight whoever he wants to fight. You know what I'm saying? I can't predict the Tank fight. Tank can fight anyone that's with the PBC, and that's how it goes. And it can range from anyone from 130 to 140. So I can't even tell you. I mean, at one point they were even talking about Keith Thurman fighting Tank. I don't know who Tank is going to fight next, but I don't think it's going to be Ryan. I don't think it's going to be Devin. It's not going to be Loma. I would love it to be Loma because Loma is available right now, but that's in a perfect world. Like I don't see that fight happening. If it were to happen, that would be great. That would be great. I mean, they can take my money. I would pre-order that fight. I would pre-order that fight. I wouldn't even wait on the night of. If Loma versus Tank happens next, they can take all my money. Take it. Take my money. Brotherhood says, I think Tank will fight Rivera. I know he's moving up in the ranks too. In fact, let me check that out real quick. I think Frank Martin is actually moving up too. I don't know how far he is from a title fight. I don't think he's as high as Michelle Rivera, but that would be a good fight for Tank. That would be a good fight. All right. That would be a good fight. I like Michelle Rivera. He's good. All right, but I can't predict the Tank opponent. Uh who else is there? Teofimo Lopez got a fight coming up at 140. I don't know who he fights at after that though. I don't really know what Tio is gonna do. I'm just gonna just wait and see how he looks on his return fight. All right. Tio got a fight coming up. Who else is at 140? We got Ryan out the way. We got Tank. We got Tio. Devin Haney, we already know that he's going to probably fight Kambosos next. That's what I'm predicting for him. And that's pretty much it. I don't think Tank is going to rematch Cruz. What's up, Eric? I don't think he's going to rematch Cruz. I don't think that. I think that's one and done. He doesn't want to do it. He clearly didn't look good in that fight. You know, I don't even think Ryan fight Pitbull Cruz. I don't know if he fights him. He might fight him. I don't think it's a good matchup for him though. I'll probably pick Ryan, but I don't think it's a good matchup for him. I don't think Cruz is. I don't think anyone really looks good against Cruz. You know, I don't really think he looks. But I don't think that's gonna happen. They already tried to make that, didn't work out. So anyway, I feel like I covered everything in this video. 135. Definitely want to move on and get on with some other topics. All right. Um, I'm gonna try to do a video tomorrow morning. Hopefully more tomorrow morning on Joshua and Usyk. I'm gonna try to get that recorded tomorrow. I might even do that one live. I want to break it down, but I think I might break it down live instead of just doing the recording and uploading it because I got to figure out. I got to see how I feel about it. I might do it live though tomorrow. All right, but be on the lookout for that. And then I also want to do more videos discussing some of the things I discussed last night. I do want to talk more about 175. All right, I do want to make another video talking a separate video. I did it on a live last night, but I want to make another video talking about 175 and what's going on because I'm sure I've been getting a lot of comments on 175 on Bevo and Better BF, and I broke it down yesterday, but I might do an actual video on it because not everybody watched the live commentary I did yesterday. Um and yeah, I think just want to talk overall about the heavyweight division and you know I want to talk about this Eubank Connor Ben thing as well. I did speak on it briefly last night, but I was kind of waiting for the fight to be official. All right. So I'll do another video on that for sure. All right. So anyway, yo, it was a good live, man. I'm gonna get on out of here. Again, thanks for everybody. Please, on your way out, hit the thumbs up, man. If you haven't already. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. And I'm gonna see you guys on the next one, man. I'll be right back. Eat probably first thing in the morning. All right. Peace.